morning and good evening, dear brothers and sisters in Christ. I'm Dr. Stella Mathews. I hope you are in good peace and health during the season of this great Lent. On behalf of Urho the Way, let me wish you all a happy International Women's Day. Our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, the complete God man by his incarnation and earthly life, revolutionized history, upending prevailing societal ideologies about almost everything, including the importance of women. From the biblical narrative of both men and women being created in the image of God, to the lofty position of the Virgin Mary among the saints and the historical presence of women's high status in canon law, the Syriac Orthodox Church has taught her faithful for centuries of the equality of men and women. However, the question arises, do we practice what we preach? The societal turmoil during the early church has led women throughout time to struggle to preserve their souls, faiths, and individual identities. Over the centuries, we cannot deny the fact of displacement of women by imposing male supremacy, decreasing access to theological education, heavy load of unappreciated and disproportionate tasks, expectations, and the anxieties associated with proper nurture and development of children. Acquiring rights for equal participation in social, political, educational, vocational, and economic arenas is an ongoing movement for women to celebrate not only their victories but also the roadblocks faced by women in the church. Urho the Way is proud to host Women in the Syriac Orthodox Church of Malankara, Challenges and Opportunities. We have with us Dayroyotho Shaino. Dayroyotho Shaino. Please forgive my incompetency with the Syrian words. Sister Shaino, who is a researcher on the topic of women's historical and contemporary role in the Syriac Orthodox Church. Sister Shaino is originally from Kannur, Kerala, and was consecrated as nun by the late More Julius Yeshu Cicek of blessed memory. She is a graduate of B.Ed from Calicut University and MSW in Medical Psychiatry from MG University. Although attached to the Nazareth Convent, she has taken academic leave to pursue higher studies at Sankt Ignatios in Sweden, where she currently resides. Recently, she completed her pre-master thesis titled Rereading the Sixth Order of Priesthood and Exploring the Role of Women in the Syriac Orthodox Church in India. Dayroyotho Shaino completed her studies at Eastern Christian Studies Department in University College of Stockholm under the supervision of Dr. White Ph.D, who is a senior lecturer in Eastern Christian Studies. Without further ado, let's welcome Dayroyotho Shaino to Urho the Way. Thanks for joining us, sister. We are excited to hear from you. How are you doing today?
Can I speak?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me here. It's truly a honor to be part of this conversation with Urho the Way. Today I feel good and the weather is also nice. And currently I am residing in Sweden, presently studying my second year master's in religious education. I am very much happy to be stay here because the the
Sweden is a cool
the
country.
yeah
Sweden is a cool country to be in.
yeah cool country in both environment and nature,
Yeah,
internal
it's
and
very good.
external. So
Okay.
I mean gender equality, I mean saying by both the internal and external, natural and geographical, everything I mentioned this way.
Yeah.
And our churches, here it is very big churches near us. There are four churches having huge families, and normally on Sundays I went to the church and meet the people. And the Bishop of Sweden, Archbishop of Sweden, Mordir Skoros Benjamin Atash, a good spiritual father for me. He guided me in a different way and motivating me to do many more works in studies as well as in community development. And also, I would like to thank Sankt Ignatius College, especially Father Johann Habil, Yuan Anderson. There are many significant and dignified personalities are there who gave me the opportunity to study, rather than they are guiding me very well to study this field.
You
So
have blessed
I'm very
opportunity.
happy to be here because these people are supporting me to grow further more and more.
That sounds great, and hope that you can bring it to our Malankara Syriac Orthodox community as well. Whatever you gain from the Swedish community and the Swedish methodology of teachings and studies.
Yeah, this is a great question because there are very different teaching system as well as church system
Yeah, I
here.
know.
We're comparing with the Kerala system, and here there are so many differences. Teaching methodology based on dialogical approach rather than constructive or behavioral mode of teaching. um, Here we want to explore more and more within our side to construct our own ideas based on the books or resources that have given to me. This is open for every student who come for studies.
Mhm.
It's a little bit different from traditional method of teaching. Then church system, I want to say that in India, in Kerala especially, in our
Mhm.
church, there is no such a consecration for uh, choir woman.
Oh,
But
that's
here it is, yeah, it is very interesting to see that this consecration of women as a Zamroniso,
mhm.
this term, renewed like, deaconesses. Nowly, the people called them deaconesses
Uh-huh.
rather than Zamronisos.
Okay.
This consecration is very nice to follow, and sometime the church conducted the choir festival also.
That sounds great. Actually, I got
And
to yeah.
I'm
Actually,
very
I
much
got a
proud
chance
to our
to.
church, Syriac tradition.
Oh,
A
that's
little
good.
bit different from our Carolite tradition.
That's good. So I got a chance to read your master thesis, and it's very well written. And the 45 pages I just sat down and read in like one sit. It was so interesting, and I there is a lot of eye-opening ideas discussed in there. So I would like to like ask you a question based on a quote from your thesis itself. So in the thesis, you write. This study aims to explore the reason behind the diminishing role of women and declining female vocations in church ministry within the Syriac Orthodox Church in India. So, you have explained very systematically and intelligibly the reasons in that thesis. So, could you be able to please dive deeper for our viewers so that they know what is exactly described in your thesis?
Um, Thank you so much for the question. My research focused on traditional and contemporary roles of women in the Syriac Orthodox Church in India. It is the
Mhm.
topic that is both historically and contemporarily relevant today. So many people assume that women in our tradition always had a limited role, but history tells us a different story. I think today I hope to shed light on these findings and explore how we can rethink women's contribution to our church. So, when we examine this area, the decline of female vocations is not a sudden phenomenon, but rather the result of historical and cultural factors that shaped the church over centuries. If we look back at the early centuries of Christianity, women played significant roles in the church. They served as deaconesses, educators, and leaders in their communities. However, as the church administration became more structured in the 4th and 5th centuries, and something changed. The church developed a rigid hierarchical system that gradually excluded women from leadership roles. By the 5th and 6th centuries, a male dominated system actively prevented the consecration of women, which directly led to the decline of female religious vocations. In other words, we can say the restrictions placed on women were not always part of church tradition, but became enforced over time due to institutional changes. When we come into India, cultural and social factors also contributed to this decline. First one is patriarchal societal norms. We all know that in many traditional societies, including in India, men have historically been given dominant roles in leadership, while women were expected to serve their supportive roles. This cultural mindset was absorbed into the church, limiting women's opportunities for religious vocations. The second reason is Indian cultural influences. Over the time, certain local traditions influenced the religious practices. For example, in Indian culture, women have often faced restrictions on entering sanctified places, a practice that, although not biblical, but was integrated into church customs. The third point, the lack of awareness. Many people, not all from old and new, including clergy and laity, are simply unaware of the historical significance of female vocations in the early church. Without this awareness, there has been no strong push to revive these roles. The fourth point, influence of Hindu myths and traditions. Over centuries, some practices from Hindu traditions have been erroneously adopted into church customs. This includes gender based restrictions on rituals and religious roles which were not originally part of Christian teachings. When we go through the detailed information of female roles in the society from the Hindu tradition, it's a philosophical concept. The role and status of women from the Vedic period onwards, having household jobs, giving birth to their children, and taking care of them. Like other religions in the world, Hinduism also predominantly male dominated religion. Women have secondary roles that are to assist and help them in their administrative duties. On the brighter side of this religion, there are several deities with the women in character. So the people worship and offer prayers for them. Thus, women were being respected and shown admiration during some ages in the history. Women are considered as the aspects of nature or embodiment of universal mother, like Bhumi Mata, Shakti Swarupini. Like she is praised as Mata, the mother of goddess, or Devi, the auspicious one. So for men, it is the obligatory duty to take care of their women. Though the Vedic rituals and ceremonies are done by male candidates, women cannot initiate any Vedic ceremony or ritual. She may perform domestic rituals such as puja or perform austerities, but the host of sacrifice is always a male member. The ritual purity is more important while entering the rituals or temples. When they enter into the worship centers, one should maintain their purity of mind, cleanliness of cloth, body cleanliness, clean diet, and purity of speech, which means the religion is very concerned about the term ritual purity in one's own belief. For performing rituals, traditionally, a man can only enter into the sanctuary. Due to biological reasons, women are restricted from entering the sanctuary, and or even in some temples in India, it is a traditional belief that the temple, church, or mosque is considered the house of God. It is a place of holiness and peace where it is separated from the thoughts, words, or deeds related to worldly pleasures. It is the sacred house of God, and the gods were the priests who conduct puja rites, offering flower, water, incense, lights, food, and other choices of offering to honor and please God or goddess to invoke their presence and blessing. But in our tradition, our canon, our church fathers doesn't restrict the women's entry to the church. Understanding this decline is the first step forward reviving female vocations in the church. It is not about challenging faith or doctrine, but rather about correcting cultural influences that have unfairly excluded women. History shows us that women were once active in the church ministry. Theological education and their awareness must be strengthened to challenge outdated misconceptions. Cultural traditions must be carefully examined to ensure they align with the true teachings of the church. By having open discussions like this, we can move forward a more inclusive future while remaining true to the core values of our faith. Thank you. I hope that you can listen me.
Yes. Yes, Sister Shaino, that was very good and point by point, like elaborated. Thank you very much. So, as you told, yeah, in if you are taking our tradition, Hinduism is our culture, and we do believe in Ardhanarishwaran. But I don't know how the system and the rituals and everything are based on one gender only, and the other gender is considered to be a bit less than one. So that's a very big question that has puzzled me since I was born, because like physically there is difference, yes, but that doesn't be restrained to doing something or something not, right? So that's very well explained and very well studied. Thank you very much. And then that leads to my another question. You have already touched brief when we discussed about Sweden and the ways in Sweden, but the question I'll ask you officially. So currently women have traveled a lot ahead, and there is not a sector where you can sideline us, right? So now there was a like news that a set of women only are going to space, which was sponsored by the Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos. So, like women are even going to space in some parts of the world. But when we look into Western, Eastern societies or developed, developing, underdeveloped countries, we can say that these opportunities are equally distributed among all of them. So in some part of the world, women are considered equal. Other parts, we struggle to do that, and other parts, nobody cares. So how do you envision the future of us women in our church as well as the society? So there have been a lot of women who are enlightened or empowered, and we all stand for what we want. We don't want to be like feminist, but we want the equal thing. Don't nothing less, right? We want to be equal, and we want to be loved, not protected, loved and understood well. So what do you think like the future of us will be? You can
So
say
this
in
is
your
an
young
important.
point of view, and like a mother, like on my point of view also.
This is an important question because while women have advanced significantly in various professional fields globally, the level of equality they experience varies based on geographical, cultural, and religious context. However, the opportunities are available to them in religious setting remain inconsistent. This is my point. So, the future of women in our church depends on proactive steps, including to foster a more inclusive environment. We can focus on the fourfold areas which I suggested through this thesis. First one, the theological education for women, which includes historically women in the church have held significant roles such as deaconesses, assisting in baptism and leading prayers. Reviving theological education for women can empower them to contribute more effectively to church ministries and leadership. Secondly, advocacy for gender equality in church leadership. In early Christian communities, women played pivotal roles in spreading the faith and leading house churches. Recognizing these contributions, advocating more gender equality in church leadership today is essential. Ensuring women have equal opportunities to serve and lead within the church. And thirdly, recognition of women's historical contributions. Understanding these pivotal roles women played in the early church can inspire contemporary reforms. By acknowledging this history, we can foster a culture that values and promotes women's contributions in all aspects of church life. And the fourth one, addressing cultural biases. Cultural biases have historically confined women to certain roles within the church, limiting their participation, leadership, and the decision-making process. Addressing these biases requires open dialogue, education, and a commitment to change, ensuring women's voices are heard and valued in all phases of the church. And recently, the church made a few attempts like 35% of reservation for women in church committee, etc. shows our church taking successive and inclusive steps on these areas too. I think so. It is hopeful. We can. It will come more successive steps in future.
Yeah, that's a great point. I love your third point. Women should write history. We should form a panel of women who studies history, and then you should have some point of view in about the woman who contributed to the history, because like 90% of history is about men who changed it. It's his story, so there should be a her story also. That's a very well said point. So there should be women panel writing history. That's very good. Thank you very much. And then comes my another question. So, like as a born, brought up, and continuing proud Syriac Orthodox Christian, I always had this notion that woman has only spiritual roles like praying, fasting, or teaching in the Sunday school, or like women's association and sitting and praying and all the things, and just supporting the church. But in your thesis you clearly says that we do have, or we are assigned administrative tasks in our church. So could you be able to explain a bit more about it? What are the tasks that we were assigned, and how we can reintroduce it to our present Malankara Syriac Orthodox Church?
So thank you for the question. It is very common.
I think we lost you. Sister Shaino, can you hear us?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay. Yeah, now it's good.
It's
I think
okay.
yeah, now it's good. Yes.
We need to change anything more? No.
No, you can just continue talking, because I think the internet was paused, so there was a pause. Now it's all good.
Okay. So everyone knows that unfortunately many of the people associate women in the church primarily with the spiritual duties such as prayer, fasting, and supporting clergy, as you said.
Yeah.
However, historically, women played active roles in church administration, particularly the order of deaconesses. The office of female diaconate handled the ecclesiastical role of women in the ordained ministry. So, the women played active roles in church administration and leadership.
Sister Shino, there is a pause. Yeah,
Yeah,
you paused for a second. Now you are back. Please continue talking.
okay, it's okay.
Yeah, now it's okay.
Okay, maybe it is because net connection, net issues, I think.
Yeah, the internet is breaking. That's why.
Um, Really, unfortunately, many of the people. So,
You paused again.
we want to take a break, I think. That's why.
Your net is tired.
Not tired, but it is stopping sometime.
Yeah. Do you want to like re-log in, or
Yeah,
what should you do? Jobin Chamacha, you are there?
let me try once more.
Yeah, sure. Now it's all good.
Okay.
Yeah.
When we say generally, unfortunately, many of the people associate women in the church primarily with the spiritual duties such as prayer, fasting, and supporting clergy, as you mentioned before. However, historically, women played active roles in the church administration and leadership, particularly in the order of deaconesses. The office of female diaconate handled the ecclesiastical role of women in the ordained ministry. These roles included sacramental, pastoral, and educational and institutional roles. When we consider sacramental duties include assisting in baptism and anointing, leading and educating with the church communities, and providing pastoral care to the women that come under pastoral and educational role, engaging in charitable work and social welfare services. However, due to cultural and institutional changes, these roles gradually diminished, like in charge of social and charitable services. When we consider with all these roles, which is diminished now, so we want to reintroduce it. The church needs to consider through educate both clergy and laity on the historical importance of women's participations, roles, responsibilities in the church, and educate, reintroduce them. The church needs these deaconesses or other kind of duties or responsibilities, want to consider it and establish policies that integrate women into decision making bodies, recognize and empower women in theological training and ministry, which is the most important thing. If we are not educated, we cannot teach anyone. We cannot raise our voices to the society, or we want to integrate our ideas to the community. We are not educated. So this is the important part of this ministry of administration leadership, to communicate the people as well as the clergy and church hierarchy also. Many of our church hierarchy or laity not aware about all these roles, such as deaconesses or such roles that was established early. What is the relevant today? All these things are missing nowadays.
Yeah, so we do have a very beautifully designed church, and we do have a very important place for women in the church. But there is no point if nobody knows about it, right? So educating everybody, including the people in charge, is the first thing to do. I agree with you. That's very correct. So now, like, let's go to the other one. Is there something you found during the course of further research? Because I used to be a researcher as well. So when we look through the articles and journals regarding our work, we see something that's a spark, and we won't be able to include that on thesis at that moment, right? So it's there is something that you have noticed you want to incorporate in your studies, or you want to continue in the future.
My research is highlights several areas that requires further exploration.
Mm-hmm.
I want to need study more about this topic and surrounding matters around this topic, like the historical presence and functions of deaconesses in the church and our tradition, and what are the roles of cultural myths in shaping church practices, what comparative studies of female leadership in Orthodox churches worldwide, theological reinterpretations that support deaconesses' development in church ministry. Mm, I hope that many women candidates shall come forward to study theology and study this kind of areas. And especially I'm focusing, I'm a baby in this field, I know it. So specifically, I want to learn more about this topic. What about this consecration? What about blessings? There are such terms are included into it,
Mm-hmm.
which will make a little bit complexities of execution.
Yeah, there are all theories, but execution is the hardest part, eh? So that goes to my question. I should have asked it long before, but the thing is, out of all the things you can choose in a theological study, why did you choose this specific topic? Like you were always interested in to bring a voice for us, our voice being heard, no, in wherever we are. That was the drive for you to choose this topic.
So it is an excellent question. You can imagine, as a religious nun having 24 years of experience in the church, I feel personally compelled to come up to this topic. I felt it is essential to understand the roles that especially women and religious nuns can perform within the church and which ministries are open to them rather than participating in women association as a religious teachers or choir members. So I want to explore myself to get insight regarding all these areas, and I have observed and intervened both personally and professionally in the church a cultural misperception that limits female participation, and I believe there is a need for education and empowerment to revive women's role in the church ministry. So I hope this discussion is crucial for understanding existing perceptions and encouraging greater involvement of women in religious life.
Sounds great. Because when I started reading your abstract, you write that God in Genesis, it says God created men and women in His own images. So we are same. So why is there a difference, right? That's always a question that we all have been asking, and hopefully in the future we get the answer for it, and our coming generations enjoy the fruit of what we are doing right now, right?
Yes.
So
We
I'll
are,
pardon. Please continue.
yeah, you said it true. We all are equal in the image of God. So
Yeah.
it is the duty of ours to become before equal, equal before God,
Yeah.
while performing and participating and doing whatever we are doing.
Yeah, and then it's good for not only for us, for the coming generations as well. We are just paving the way for them so that they can enjoy, because we are enjoying the freedom of the women who fought for it in the previous years. So let the coming generation enjoy more than us.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I'll go to my conclusion. Thank you, Dayroyotho Shaino, for spending time with us and discussing your research, observation, and views. It was an enlightening discussion, and hope our viewers will also enjoy it, and they will also know that the women are very important in our canon. And only thing is that we have to reintroduce and educate and re-practice the stuffs that we used to do once upon a time within our church. The journey of womanhood has prevailed many obstacles, challenges of time, unrealistic expectations of society, but have, of course, thrived so far. The expectations of being feminine must amend to the expectation of being a good human who was created in the image of God and who reflects his love, grace, and kindness. As the church which upholds the true faith, I wish more and more researchers and advocates like Dayroyotho Shaino be celebrated for their dedicated lives, communities, and sacrifices which they make as a woman for the enrichment for our church, to our societies, families, and for a better and equal world. Thank you, Sister Shaino. And on behalf of Father Ranjan Matthew and all of us at Urho the Way, once again wishing everyone happy Women's Day. Celebrate being a woman and stay empowered. Thank you and God bless. I think we are done.